Good morning, Husker fans, and it is game day. Northern Iowa is up on the schedule today for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, so we're going to hang out here for about 30 minutes or so. Going to do a little pregame chat. We'll talk about this football game, some recruiting, whatever else that you guys have on your mind. So please hop in and join us. We've got you live streaming here on YouTube and Facebook. So if you've got questions, if you just want to chat about the Cornhuskers today, come in and join us, and we'll have a little bit of fun for these next 30 minutes. So how are you doing today, Danny?
Good. Nebraska's opponent may be Northern Iowa, but my opponent this morning was the Alarm. Other than that, I'm doing well.
Yeah, that is, it is Saturday after all, and it is nice that we don't have to play Colorado, and hopefully we won't have to deal with any lunatic Colorado fans trying to bombard our chat today. But at any rate, it was fun to watch those guys get destroyed last week. I particularly enjoyed it after those Colorado fans did that to our chat last Saturday.
I have to say, I have a not newfound respect, but I respect even more Travis Hunter. He said earlier this week that Nebraska was a top 10 environment that he's ever played in. So, I just feel like Travis Hunter just gets kind of, I don't know, looped in with Prime and all that nonsense. But I really don't think he's a show off or anything like that. I've actually heard him talk a couple times, and he's pretty humble. So, a cat tip from me to Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I did hear him say that, so that was pretty cool. What was pretty funny though was the Shiloh Sanders coming out at the kickoff and saying that, "Oh, we're about to roll you, dog," and then about 5 minutes later, he gets just crushed, run over by Dante Dowdell. So
he did that against Oregon last year too, and he also ended up in the hospital. Yeah. So there you go.
It's like maybe you should just be quiet. And
if it was like Shedeur, I'd be like, okay, like you're Shedeur Sanders, like you're. Yeah. I still think you're pretty good. So, I mean, but Shiloh, I don't know.
Yeah, Shiloh, I don't think he was even like an NFL prospect. Like, no. If his last name wasn't Sanders, would he even be on the Buffaloes? Like, you know what I mean?
No, not at all.
But so let's talk a little bit about Northern Iowa. The line did get updated. We had DraftKings today posted 30.5 or 30.5 points is kind of the line right now. It's kind of bumped around a little bit. But I don't know. I know a lot of Nebraska people, like every time I post anything about this game, they're like, "Why are you even talking about this game? This is going to be so easy. It's going to be over at the end of the first quarter." And I just don't know. I just think that Nebraska fans a little bit are looking past Northern Iowa just because they're an FCS team. But like Matt Rule said this week, like this team's used to winning games. They've won 2 games this year. I know the competition hasn't been great, but I just think I expect a little bit of a more competitive game than I think most Nebraska fans do.
I do too. I don't think it's going to. I think that spread is personally too large. I can see Nebraska winning by maybe like 21 points or something like that, but I don't see Nebraska, rolling against Northern Iowa, or at least early, maybe pulling away, but I don't see this as being necessarily a cakewalk. If it is, that's awesome. And, I saw a thing from, I believe it was Husker 24/7 asking how much should Dylan Raiola play today. He should play the whole game. Honestly, like, I don't know. I get it's Northern Iowa, but I'm not taking them lightly, especially given how we should have beaten some other teams in the past that we didn't necessarily finish the job playing against.
Yeah, I guess that's where I don't understand the confidence quite from some fans. Like, Nebraska has barely been able to walk and chew gum the last 7 years. So let's not count our eggs before they hatch. And I get, but people underestimate FCS football all the time. And there's really not that big of a difference between, the FCS and the group of 5, especially like the top leagues. And Northern Iowa, they've beaten Iowa State. This coaching staff has beaten Iowa State 3 times. They haven't beaten Iowa, but they have come up and beaten, Power 4 teams before. So it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility. And look, I think if Nebraska plays well, I mean, I think this game will be handled by, mid-third quarter, but that doesn't, I see people saying like it's going to be over within 5 minutes. That's not how football works. You still have to go out there and execute. And with this Northern Iowa team, I posted a couple times that it was going to be, the toughest test so far of the non-conference schedule in the run defense. And people were like, "What are you talking about?" And it's like, dude, these guys are averaging 298 rushing yards per game. Okay. Like, I guarantee you that these guys can probably run block better than Colorado. They've probably played together longer, their offensive line. So, I mean, you have to think about those types of things. Just the full, yes, I do believe that if you look at strictly running the football, Northern Iowa was probably better at that than Colorado because Colorado just doesn't want to do it.
And it's kind of like my New England Patriots or our New England Patriots. They have an identity. They want to run the football. They know what their limitations are, and they stick with what they can do best offensively, and they're true to it. So, I mean, when you have a team that can do that, that automatically, presents not necessarily a challenge, but it makes life easier for Northern Iowa because they're confident in what they do. And when you have a system that you're confident in, that certainly helps, especially if you're the underdogs.
Yeah, and I guess so for me, I do think Nebraska can come out and handle these guys, especially if the defensive line, takes care of business. But Nebraska can't just like walk through the motions. They can't just go through the motions and expect this team to lay down. Like they need to come out and play with the same intensity and be sharp and play championship football, right? And that to me that means meeting the standard every single week, no matter who the opponent is. And Nebraska, I mean, they haven't done that, and Matt Rule said that, and even the second half last week was not what I would call championship football. So I would like to see this team meet that standard for 4 quarters. And what that looks like against Northern Iowa, that probably does look like a 45-3 score, 45-10, or whatever it looks like. But I just want to see this team play really well and not take anything for granted. There's only 12 games this season, so let's get up and play up to our best today. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, get up, play to your best, and not looking ahead too far. But with Illinois coming next week, you kind of want to, again, like I said earlier this week, practice good habits for that conference schedule. And this isn't a game to take lightly. This isn't a game to cruise, because we're not going to be able to cruise the rest of the way.
Okay, so Mitch, thanks for the comment, Mitch. Good to see you. Go Big Red. Last game before Big Ten play, I can see them really airing it out and going through the playbook. It's about time for Dylan Raiola to stop being the game manager and be the blue chipper he needs to be. Yeah, I think, part of this, I think the receivers got to step up. Those guys, I mean, last week there was a few plays that should have been made that weren't made. There was a couple of drops. And the protection also was not that great last week, too. I mean, Dylan Raiola didn't get sacked, but a lot of that had to do with, when you rewatch the game, you see him, avoiding people a lot. And so, there's some things that need to be shored up there. I'm not worried about, how many yards that he throws for, or, like being a game manager per se, because Nebraska, that's all they need is a game manager. And he's a game manager who can make, the elite throws. It's kind of like, people wanted to kind of put that on like JJ McCarthy, like, oh, he just managed the game for Michigan, yada, yada, yada. But he didn't, because when the game was on the line, he made the plays that needed to be made. And that's what Dylan Raiola can do. And, when you have a quarterback like that, it doesn't, that extracurricular stuff doesn't matter. It's the 4 or 5 plays a game that really make a difference. The 3rd and 11, the 2nd and 24, the pass to Jalen Lloyd. He made 3 plays right there that truly impacted that Colorado game that no other player on this team could have made. So I get what you're saying, Mitch, in terms of airing it out more, but the offensive line and the receivers got to pick up their part of it too.
Well, let's be honest here too. Colorado was not good at defending the run, so it makes sense that we would run it down their throats. I mean, Dante Dowdell ran Shiloh Sanders over. I mean, they were not good at defending the run, and I think Mark Satterfield knew it, and I was fine with them not airing it out. But I think we're going to see more of a passing offense as we enter Big Ten play.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be, matchup based. If the passing game is there, then go for it. But yeah, if a team is going to let you, if you can run the football like that, I mean, there's no reason to get too cute with it. Yeah,
Which
think
is a trap we've fallen into in previous seasons too.
But to answer this question, Jonathan D. Pamplun, I do think that there's a good chance we see Daniel Kaelin today.
Rule said he doesn't want to risk his red shirt and mop-up duty. Well, I don't think there's going to be too many more mop-up games, so I could see maybe him playing. I mean, I don't know. It would be tough to put him out there in a Big Ten game that's not, 42-10 Nebraska, and I don't see any of those other games, like those types of games, on the schedule from here on out. So maybe today. I mean, I know he said he doesn't want to risk his red shirt and mop-up duty, but I don't really see too many more mop-up games on the schedule from here on out. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, if he doesn't play today, there's not going to be any chances to play, because, if it gets to be, if we're in mop-up duty in a Big Ten game, it's not going to be long, and that's going to be Heinrich Haarberg time, because he's earned the chance to at least get on the field, like we saw earlier. So, yeah, I would bet that Daniel Kaelin plays today if the game goes, like we think it's going to go. And I had this with Mitch I'm curious to see if Northern Iowa will keep running the ball after going down 7. Yes, I think they will because their quarterback is terrible. Their
I was going to
quarterback
say, I don't think they
averages
have much else.
their quarterback averages 5.4 yards per attempt. So, I mean, and they played Central Arkansas and St. Thomas. So, I mean, I really don't see them, throwing the football much. And honestly, if I was them, I would just try to shorten the game. And, because look, if you're Northern Iowa, like your entire mission today is to get to the fourth quarter within like 7 to 14 points. If you're just within striking distance by the time the fourth quarter rolls around, then the pressure's all on Nebraska and you've done your job. And then it's just, make a play or two and see what happens.
And then just to kind of go over this question, Jonathan, thanks again. Do you think we will go no huddle in the first half? I know they talked about change of pace. No huddle. I personally don't think so. I mean, I know they want to move a little bit faster on offense, but I mean, there's a lot of things that have to go right for no huddle. And I don't know, maybe just quicker to the line and things like that. I could see, trying to, move a little bit faster offensively, kind of speed the game up. But I don't know necessarily about no huddle. What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
Yeah, I don't see Nebraska being a team that wants to like no huddle like as a preference. I mean, maybe every once in a while they could go tempo, but I don't really see that much happening today. And I'd be surprised if they no huddled much this year, except like if the offense isn't working or in 2-minute type of situations.
Dowdell and other backs could be used to control the clock, says Jim Allen. Good morning, Jim. And I think that's a good point. As far as the Colorado game was concerned, I think, they didn't want to have the Colorado offense on the field too long because if you give them too much time, they can make plays, especially, Travis Hunter and Sanders. So I think that's where the running game really came in handy last week. But I think Dowdell has shown the ability to be able to control the clock. I'm curious to see what type of role Emmett Johnson has today. And I'm also curious to see if Ramir Johnson continues to get more involved in the passing game because he showed that he can still do that. I mean, you remember, of course, the 2021 Michigan game. I always go back to that because that was his first real big receiving game, in my opinion. And I'm curious to see how often they utilize Ramir and what they utilize him for, as well as, if Emmett Johnson will get a few more touches today. I know Dowdell is the bell cow, but I'm curious to see how the running back rotation kind of works itself out.
Yeah, I think the depth chart that they released, with Dowdell and Ramir Johnson as co RB1, I think that was meaningful, and I think that we'll see that reflected at least in the first half or two today. And yeah, I do think with Mitch's point here, I think we're going to get one. I think Dante Dowdell is going to run for 100 yards today. I don't think two. That's just not just rushing. Okay. Do we have 200? I'd still say no, because I don't think Ramir Johnson's going to be in the game long enough to get like 100, total yards between rushing and receiving. So I do think that Dante Dowdell is I think he'll break a long run like we saw in the spring game, when he had that 50-yard touchdown run, because he's been really close to breaking them. And I feel like today he will get one. And then I feel like it'll be Emmett Johnson and Gabe Ervin more in the second half. Now that rotation could change, but it seems like they feel pretty good about those top two guys right now.
I love Gabe as a red zone goal line type of back. I thought he did really well against UTEP. I loved that he's just able to bully the ball in there and also honestly like protect his body, make an impact, but not, as a guy who suffered from injuries, make an impact, but not too much wear and tear on your body. So I love that role for him because, he is still a bruising type of back, in my opinion.
Yeah, he'll definitely, I think, have a role, and these guys are going to get used during the Big Ten season, like no doubt about it. And but yeah, I would think Emmett Johnson will probably see more touches than Gabe Ervin today, and then maybe even the chance to get some of the freshmen involved, or Quentin Ives or Nelson, some of those guys.
This is just a blanket statement, but after this season, I could see a running back entering the transfer portal. I don't know who. I'm not saying there is going to be one. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, because right now, I mean, Dante Dowdell's already locked this thing pretty much down as the starter. So, I mean, he's only a sophomore. So, he's going to be the RB1 here. Yeah, I mean, hopefully they can keep them all, but the reality is it's pretty tough, especially at that position. So, yeah, it would not surprise me to see, guys leaving, especially, you got Jamarian Parker coming in here.
Yep. Who looks really, really good, by the way.
Yeah, he's going to be I think he's going to be hard to keep off the field. And man, like Dante Dowdell and Jamarian Parker, that's going to be a fun tandem. And, Makai Nelson, I like him too. So I think Nebraska's pretty good at the running back spot.
Not to mention, if things get rolling, who else they could bring in? I mean, you never know. They never stop recruiting. They always seem to want to add talent. So this thing continues to roll. Who knows?
Yeah, I think Nebraska's setting itself up to be not a transfer portal destination for like mass players, but they're really smart about filling needs. And like, if you're a transfer portal guy, Nebraska's going to be a great place. They got the quarterback. They've got a great head coach. They've got all the facilities. They've got the NIL, and they've got a team that's ready to win. And so it's going to be like, hey, we need a right tackle. We lost Bryce Benhart. Bryce Benhart. So anyways, we lost him, and this is like next year. We need to find a starting right tackle. Well, that's going to be a pretty attractive position. If I'm a right tackle in the portal, there's not that many teams I would probably consider going to over Nebraska. So at any rate, I do think that they're going to set themselves up well to, kind of fill needs in the portal with pretty good players, as they've done, these past few years with Rule.
I'm with Mitch on this. I thought that was interesting too. I was wondering if it was just maybe an injury thing, but I'm kind of interested to see what Quentin Ives' role is with the program.
Yeah, that was interesting too. And I'm not. It's always hard to judge coaches playing guys at the end of games, because like you would think that Malachi Coleman would play, and then Rule said like he didn't want to waste a red shirt potentially, on a kind of meaningless situation. So I'm not sure if that applies to Quentin Ives or not, but I did kind of notice that as well, and that'll be something to watch today, because I do feel like we should get into those lower rotations of running backs, because I've been picking 41-10. That's been my prediction. So when I started with it, it was like not picking Nebraska to cover the spread, but now that the spread's dropped a little bit, they would cover it. So I feel pretty confident in that number. I don't think Northern Iowa was going to score in the first half. I think this defense is absolutely just going to stonewall them. But I think that once we get into our reserves a little bit, I think that the scoring for Nebraska will slow down, and I think Northern Iowa will be able to get some things going on offense. Not a lot, but maybe they get a couple scores in the second half of a game that, I think will be decided midway through the third quarter by halftime.
Do you remember my prediction? Because I don't remember my prediction. I think I said, 28-10 or something?
Yeah, or 31-10, something 31-10, like that.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, 31-10. So
I was thinking, when we lose Ty and Nash next year, who's going to be able to step up and come in? And then I took a look at the recruiting class again last night, and I'm really, again, excited about Malcolm Simpson. And I just watched some more of his highlight tape, and man, I don't know how he felt to us and how he was so under-recruited, but Malcolm Simpson, Cade Patrizak, Tyson Terry, I think the future is in good hands at the position. It'll absolutely suck losing Nash and Ty, but, I mean, they're NFL prospects, so I love what we have coming in. I really, really do. I just kind of, like I said, looked at it again last night, and I was like, man, we're really set at the defensive line if everything goes well.
Yeah, they are going to – I mean, that's probably a position, I think they're going to have to find some help in the portal.
And we lose Butler, as Mitch says, yeah.
Yeah. Butler, I think Cam Leonard can step in and take that position. So I'm not super worried about that. Like, I think of anybody that we could lose, Jamari is probably the easiest to replace. But, you look at Robinson and Hutmaker, and I do really like the 2025 class, but I do think, expecting those guys to come in and contribute right away in the Big Ten is going to be asking a lot. And, you look at last year's class, 2024, really nobody, not a lot of high-rated defensive tackles. So I just think that this is going to be a position where Nebraska is going to have to go get some help in the transfer portal while those guys kind of develop and get used to, playing in the Big Ten. I mean, obviously Riley Van Poppel is a guy that's going to come in and start. So I feel I feel like, yeah, so he'll take the Ty Robinson role. So, I mean, I feel like next year you're going to have Cam Lenhart and Van Poppel as 2-year starters. And then you're going to have to, you're going to have to get somebody to play that nose tackle position, I think, for Nat, because there's just nobody I don't think that's going to be quite ready for that. So if you look at portal needs, early portal needs, I think tackle is going to be on offensive tackle, and defensive tackle is going to be, Judy would be a nice depth piece, but he's still not. He's more of a 3-5 technique. Like we need that Nash Hutmaker nose tackle, and I think Tyson Terry can be that in the future, but I just don't know if he can be that as a freshman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I also think saying we need a Nash Hutmaker nose tackle next year is a tall ask. And I'm not saying that you're asking, but just a general statement. Like,
Right, yeah.
Nash is a damn good football player, so I do expect to see a drop off, obviously. But I think if as long as we develop right and do this right, we're in good hands for the future, because I do think there's a lot of talent. I'm excited to see Terry. I'm excited to see Keona Wilhite a little bit more. I'm excited to see Malcolm Simpson, and I really do like how this class is shaping up in terms of balance, meaning 2025. So, we'll see. But I feel a lot better about it than I did even a couple months ago.
And Keona Davis, I mean, that's another guy who was kind of blowing up during fall camp, and we haven't really seen, or heard a whole lot about him. And that's like, it's tough. Defensive line is a tough position to come in and contribute. And you're right. It's not going to be easy to find somebody like that in the portal next year. But defensive tackles and offensive tackles, they're like gold. They're basically, right there with quarterback. If you look at the three positions that teams want in the portal, it's DT, offensive tackle, and quarterback. So Nebraska's unfortunately going to be in the business probably for two of those positions. So at any rate, positive, Mike. I'd like to see Raiola get 300 yards passing today. I think it's possible. I just don't know if he's going to be in there long enough. I don't know if he's going to get enough attempts to hit 300 yards. But I think it's definitely possible.
And I think, as we've seen over the first two games, Nebraska likes to play a balanced brand of football, and I don't think they're going to stray away from that too much. I do think they love to run the ball, and the difference this year as opposed to other years is that we have a quarterback that can handle a snap and make positive passing plays down the field. So that definitely helps too. I'm just going to watch what type of game Marcus Satterfield calls today, because I know some fans are frustrated with him. I had no problems with his first half game plan against Colorado, and I'll even give him the benefit of the doubt in the second half, considering the laundry was on the field like every 5 seconds. But I'll have to see what he does today.
Yeah, I think he's been doing a good job. I don't try not to criticize direct play calling too much, because there's a lot of things that go into it. But I just think that they're going to try to stretch the field and try to hit some big plays, because they haven't done that as much as I would like in these first two games. And so, I think that the receivers probably got challenged in practice a little bit this week, not only for blocking, but they need to make plays. They didn't get open nearly as much as they should have against outside of Travis Hunter, a pretty weak Colorado secondary. So, I mean, NDSU threw up like 400 yards passing against those dudes, like 300 yards passing. And I guarantee you, we throw the ball a hell of a lot better than NDSU. So we should have had more production last week. And I do think we'll be more productive. But the thing is the more productive Dylan is, like the sooner he gets himself on the bench. So that's where I'm not sure if he's going to, I do think he'll throw 3 touchdowns though. I predicted that 3 touchdowns and maybe like 260 yards.
Joseph says, I think Dowdell deserves 20 to 25 carries. Heavy dose of Dowdell today. I'd love to see that, because that's the other thing too. If the run is working, why stray away from it? You know what I mean? And so far it has been working, and I just love the game that Dowdell brings. And like you pointed out earlier, a combo of Dowdell and Jamarian Parker, oof, like that's nice. That's nice right there.
I agree with Joseph that Dowdell deserves 20 carries, but I'm kind of with Mitch here. I don't think that he's going to get it in this game today, because there's only your running back only has so much wear and tear. There's only so much tread on the tires. So let's not waste some of that against Northern Iowa. I expect him to get 10 to 12 carries. And I still think he's going to get 100 yards, because I think he's going to break along. I think he's going to get like 12 carries for like 105 yards. Then he's going to call it a day, and they'll let Emmett Johnson get some runs. They'll let Gabe Irvin get some runs. But save Dante Dowdell for Illinois next week, because we're going to need him.
Illinois, another night game at home. I tell you what, the season ticket holders are getting a real treat this year.
Yeah, and that might be a top 25 game, because Illinois right now in the AP poll is 26th, so they're one spot. I mean, so theoretically, if they win their game against Central Michigan, you would think that somebody would lose, and they'll probably be ranked. So that would be
which I think they will today, honestly. And then they have Nebraska and then Penn State after that. So they got a gauntlet coming up.
But that would be, because you know what that would mean, you guys. We would have a chance to break another streak next week if Illinois comes in here as a ranked team, because we have not beaten a ranked team since I can't even remember. I got sick of counting how many games
Oregon,
it was.
I think. Mitch could probably tell us. Mitch, was it?
It was Oregon? No, Michigan State. We beat Michigan State that year. When they were like number 3 in 2015.
Oh, that's right. It was Michigan State. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. It's been a long time.
Maybe 2016 they did beat a ranked team that year, because we started like 9-0, but God, I just can't remember. But it's been it's like it's up to like 20 some games now. We haven't
It's
beat a
weird to
ranked
see a
team.
number next to our name. I'll say that right now. I'm still not used to that. It's weird to see it's weird to see number 24 Nebraska next to our name.
You know what? I think I think it is actually, it was Oregon, but that was 2016, that game you're thinking of, Danny.
Okay,
so
yeah.
We're right on the game. I just think you were thinking it was the wrong year because they beat Michigan State in 2015. That was when Brandon Riley got shoved out and they called it in, and they went to a bowl game as 5-7. Then the next year, we actually Oregon came here, we beat them, and we started like 9-0 or 8-0, and we're ranked like number 6, and then we got beat by Ohio State by like 50, and then we ended up just like losing out. Went to the Music City Bowl, lost that game. Yeah, so it would be. I was thinking that it would be like Wisconsin or Iowa that we broke that streak against, but maybe it'll be Illinois. Who knows, man? I don't care. I just want all the streaks to end.
Illinois Illinois, in my 5 years of covering the team, has always been a tough game too. It's always been a good game, and to some degree, even last year was really good. So, but we're not playing Illinois today. We are playing Northern Iowa, so not to look ahead too far.
And we got about 3 minutes. We're coming up here at 7:30. So if you guys haven't thrown your scores in chat, I got 41-10. You sticking with 31-10 today, Danny?
Yeah.
Okay, Danny's got 31-10. So throw your predictions in chat. Ask your final questions here. We got about 3 minutes left. Who do the Hoosiers play today?
Is it Maryland that they play today? Hold on, let me look that up real quick.
We're working on this for you, Mitch.
And okay, they're playing UCLA, actually.
Oh, that'll be
who's 1-0.
I think Indiana will win that game, honestly. I'm not that impressed with UCLA.
No, I'm not either, but the fact that they're 1-0. Okay, so 42-12 from Positive Mike, 40-7 from Richard Frazier. All right, so we all have like low points on the part of Northern Iowa. So,
yeah, Northern. If their offense scores a bunch, I'll be worried.
41-3, 45. Okay, so all high 40s. I guess I'm a little bit more conservative, but
thinking more 31. Thinking more than 31. Okay.
See, I just see them as a game where they get ahead and then they try to get out of the game with no injuries. You know what I mean? But I could definitely see these scores like. Totally.
34-6. I just think that they're going to run the ball well, and then I just don't think Northern Iowa has the athletes to So I think Ja'Cory Barney or Jalen Lloyd is going to catch like a bomb today. Not maybe necessarily a touchdown.
Ja'Cory Barney,
he's going to get in the end zone today, man. That bomb. He's just gonna. Yeah, I love that little dude. He's just a firecracker. Any scoring
because like Miami's wide receiver room is loaded, and like he decommitted because they got another loaded wide receiver. That just shows you how talented that Miami program is, but
any scoring will be in garbage time. I agree with you there, Mitch. I don't, except like maybe if they get a weird field goal or something. Pick your first half scores. 38-0. Okay, I like that, Mitch. I'm going to say 31-0 Nebraska at the half.
I'm excited to watch Ty Edwards, their running back, because he is really talented. Hopefully we stop him, but I'm definitely going to keep my eye on him tonight for sure.
I mean, I feel like if you're averaging 10 yards a carry, you're probably pretty good. I mean,
yeah.
But we appreciate that, Will. Thank you so much for just showing up for the podcast. We're
thank you, Will. 56-10. I like games where I don't have to sweat and worry about the game itself, and I can just watch football because I like football and not because I'm going to go gray and have Chris be upset because they're stressing us out. I like those types of games, so I like 56-10.
Yeah, I do too. I like 56-10 too. I could see that for sure. It's just going to be, I think how big the number is for Nebraska is going to depend how the backups play and how much too the coaches really let them run offense. Cause it's like, yeah, they might put Daniel Kalen in there, but how much are they really going to let him throw? You know what I mean? Is it just going to be like a halfback dive fest? So, we'll see what happens.
I don't even want to think about this because I don't want to get too ahead, but that has crossed my mind as well, Rick. It really has.
They could be. It's just this schedule is tough, man. Like Illinois is going to be tough. Playing at Indiana is going to be a lot tougher even than I thought it was going to be tougher, but it's going to be even more difficult than I thought. And Rutgers isn't going to be easy. And even at Purdue, you have to play a road. No road game is Nebraska has not shown me anything that makes me believe that Big Ten road games are going to be easy for them yet. So, I think these next four. I know everybody wants to focus on that Ohio State game, but I don't think there's a guaranteed win in these next 4 games. Like we just got to focus down one game at a time. All the coach speak stuff. But yeah, I definitely feel you, Rick. I definitely think there's a chance that can happen. I just can't allow my mind to go there quite yet.
The Purdue game isn't going to be easy for fans either. It's on the damn Peacock streaming thing again. I'm going to have
those
to.
assholes.
Why
did they do this to me? Why did they do next Friday night?
You don't.
I have Peacock, but it just I don't know why they have to put stuff. I hate watching it on Peacock, and then next week I have to watch it on Friday night while I'm working. It just pisses me off. I hate these people. Why don't they check with me first? Why don't they check with me first? Like, hey, Chris, you busy this night? Like, come on.
We will be favored in all 7, Mitch said, but we won't be winning many more games by 10. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Every game is losable, but we will be favored in every game before Ohio State. So, and yeah, you know what? If we win these next 4 games, I would be afraid of us if I was Ohio State, because I think we have a team that could match up with them pretty well, honestly, because their offensive line isn't that great. And I don't think they'll run the ball against us. And I think that Will Howard is kind of a fraud. I think if Will Howard has to like beat us throwing the football with our pass rush, I don't know if he can do that. I really don't know if he can do that. So
I don't know. If we didn't have Dylan Raiola, I'd take Will Howard in a heartbeat. So
yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying like I just don't think that I don't think Will Howard is a Dylan Raiola. Like I guarantee you the Ohio State coaches would trade Will Howard for Dylan Raiola in half a heartbeat.
To be fair, I don't think very many are, because what we're seeing here is just something really, really special. I mean,
I liked how on the first week of the seat before the preseason, he was like 12th in the Big Ten ratings, and then the next week he made the top 10 of all of college football.
It's like, maybe you guys really don't study and do your homework on the quarterbacks like you say you do, or players in general. I'd love to be a college football analyst, just spew nonsense all day, which I already do already, but at least I know about the team that we're talking about today.
I do sometimes spew nonsense, but I do know, Mitch, in terms of Peacock, that right now they have a thing where it's like you get 4 months for the price of 1. So basically it'll cover you for like NFL games and yada, yada, yada. So, I mean, if you need to get Peacock, like right now is the peak time to do it, I guess.
And I do know that Matt Rule is not Scott Frost 2.0. So there we go.
Yeah. I do hate Friday nights though.
I'm never gonna let you live that down. Every single podcast, I'm gonna have to slip it in somewhere like an Easter egg for our listeners.
That's funny. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
No, I love you, Chris. You know that. Rutgers is not easy either. They're never easy. No. I mean, they're tough. They're gritty. They beat Miami last year in the Pinstripe Bowl. So yeah.
So all right, guys. Well, my battery is about to die, so I gotta run. If you want to hang out, Danny, you can. But
I have to go too, actually.
So as much as I love chatting with you guys, but it's been fun with the chat. We'll come and do this next Saturday. We'll have a kind of a follow-up episode on Monday, the Monday morning podcast. So make sure you hit like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the future content. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. And as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.